How are you doing, Robbie?
Not bad, Andy. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not so bad, thanks. What's your boxing club called in New Zealand, and how long have you been running it?
It's called Martin Degnan's Boxing Club. We've been running for about 10 years. We've gone under a couple of different names because we've moved locations, but we're in a nice location now, so we just stick with the one name now.
Whereabouts is it, Robbie?
We're in Fraser Park, Lower Hutt. Go. This is the little gym. Holds about 30 people comfortably. The beauty is, for the kids, we can get them running around there, look. When I first came here, I actually wanted to go and live in Australia, but my wife wanted to come here. And I said to her, well, we'll go there for a couple of years, and then we'll go and move to Australia. But we came here, and I just fell in love with it. It's just clean, beautiful. The people, majority of the people are very, very friendly. They'll do anything to help you. And it's stunning. It's stunning. You know, you can do whatever you want here. You know, you can go fishing, you can go diving, you can go skiing, you can do absolutely anything. And people don't. To me, it doesn't feel like there's any class system here. You know how sometimes in the UK you can feel a little bit lower class and sometimes a little bit higher class. It doesn't seem that here. There is wealthy people and there's poor people, but everybody seems to muck in together. You know, that's what I like about it.
Now, your boxing club there in Lower Hutt, is it aimed at fitness or is it amateur boxers? Who's it aimed at?
It's aimed at amateur boxers. Because it's not such a big pool of people in New Zealand as we had in the UK, population's a lot smaller. But we do have a little box fit class that runs straight after the amateur class. So we have about 25 to 30 kids 3 nights a week, and about 25 to 30 adults 3 nights a week.
Yeah, because competitive boxing isn't for everybody, is it? It is a tough sport, boxing. There's no way around it. It is a tough sport, but there's a place in a boxing club for everybody, isn't there?
There is, yep. And just as you're hitting on that, just yesterday, I think there's about 650 registered boxers in all of New Zealand. So that's not a big pool of people to pick from. And we get a lot of kids coming and going, a lot of kids with problems coming and going. And just yesterday, I had a kid come in, he'd had a little bit of trouble at school. So I flicked a little video of him off to Joseph Parker, who did a little video for the kids, sent it back to me, made the kids' day. That's the sort of thing that we do in the club.
Oh, that's fantastic, that. And what sort of age group are you looking at?
10 to 16, we don't charge them kids. And then from 16 upwards, we just charge them $5 every time they come. So we'll take them all the way through whatever range they want to go to.
And what's the oldest people you've got at the club?
I think the oldest guy we've got here is about 68.
Oh, I've still got up then.
Yeah.
And you touched on it before with the young lad. What do you think? How do you think boxing clubs help people?
They help massively. It's the most honest sport you can get in the world. You know, you can play in football or rugby or whatever other sports they play, touch league or whatever. There's always an exit. There's always somewhere to go and have a little bit of a rest, or you can just sit back a little bit and take a break. But you can't take a break boxing. There's no break. It's just you've got to keep going. And I think for young kids, that builds up a little bit of self-esteem in them. they believe in themselves a little bit more, and they know the trust they've got to put in the trainer, you know, and they trust you wholeheartedly.
Do you think it has an effect on the community as well?
It does in our community, yeah. Where my gym's situated, I'm sort of right in the middle of three lower end communities where there is a bit of crime, and just like anywhere else in the world, New Zealand might be Lord of the Rings, it might be beautiful, but just like anywhere else, there is a little bit of crime here. And all I tell my kids is, it's either do that out there or do this in here, but you can't do both. You can do one or the other, and it's entirely up to you which one you choose. The schools are all very, very close to where I am. So what I do personally, I don't know what other boxing gyms do, but I go and introduce myself to the principals in the school and explain that some of their kids are coming to my boxing gym, and I'll give them my email address and contact details. And if there's any problems with any kids in the school that comes to this gym, then could they let me know? And then we'll address it with the kids in the gym here.
Now, coming from the UK, obviously you know how popular boxing is over here. How does it compare in New Zealand?
It's getting there in New Zealand, but it's chalk and cheese. Boxing and football are the #1 sports in the UK. Boxing in New Zealand is about 10th on the list. Everything pales into significance from rugby, you know. But the good thing with boxing is we can tag on to that. So there's a couple of local rugby clubs just down the road here that produce good All Blacks, that produce Pity Whippu and some of the good All Blacks. And they've asked me to go along and help train their premier teams and things like that. And we gladly help out that way. Because then we get their kids coming into the gym, you see.
Which boxers and coaches, Robbie, have influenced you? Who've you always liked watching?
In the professional field and on TV, I thought Manny Stewart was a really good coach.
Yeah, he's my favourite.
He's very empathetic, you know, and it's not all about winning. But as an amateur, my boxing trainer, he was a saviour to many young men. You know.
Which boxers at your club are doing well? I know it's like picking your children, but which have you had that have succeeded in the past and the present?
I personally didn't have any amateur fighters in the gym for a few years. I got quite disheartened with the way that the amateur boxing scene was in New Zealand, and certain entities were overpowering it. But that seems to have changed now, and things seem to have settled down. So next season's going to be my first full season back in amateur. I've had a couple of amateurs over the last couple of years. I had a young guy, Patrick McCann, beautifully skillful boxer, nice, tall, light heavyweight, and could really move well, nice and balanced.
Have you got any other coaches there to help you, or do you run it on your own?
There's 5 or 6 of us here. There's me and my wife. We're the founders of the boxing gym, and we've got Jack and his wife Ray. They box for us in a corporate boxing match, and then we do with Ashley Derbyshire, and then we've got young Dale. He's the head trauma nurse in Wellington Hospital, so he's an asset to the gym in all respects. But his daughter was a really good amateur that we had in the gym, and then we've got up and coming people like Dean Campbell that are a blessing to the gym. You know, keen and are here as much as possible. You know,
if you was a parent watching this, thinking of sending the child to the club, what's your philosophy, Robbie, about how soon they'll be sparring and possibly being in competitive boxing if they wanted to?
For me, it varies from child to child, and obviously abilities are different with kids, you know. So I personally wouldn't say, well, look, within 3 months we'll have you in the ring spar, and I'll say, well, when you're ready to spar, then we'll get you into spar. But I sort of build them up to it. I don't teach them to punch and then chuck them in the ring and say, right, get on with it. You know, I introduce them to spar, and so we'll work like 2 kids together where one's punching lightly, the other one's blocking the punches and returning and things like that. And we build them up until they get confidence in standing in front of somebody. For kids, you know, from 10 years old, it's a daunting thing to walk into a boxing gym and see kids in there throwing leather at each other, you know. It's not natural to be punched in the face. You don't want to do it. You've got to train your brain to allow it to happen. And it takes a while.
What is it about the coaching that you love?
myself, I didn't have a lot of amateur fights myself. I had a few as a kid and a couple as a youth. But then my boxing trainer from Darlington, Degnan, he must have seen something in me as a young fella, because he just had me in the corner and said, well, look, what do you think of this kid? You pick up what you see with this kid and you tell me what you see. And I was seeing the things that he was seeing. So he sort of guided me along the way. You know?
So you seem like a natural to coaching, even from an early stage.
Yeah. Lol said to me a long time ago, 30 odd years ago, about how I could get the thoughts in my head over to somebody else. He said, you tell a good story, he says, and you translate it well. He said, and that's the beauty of being a coach. That's what makes a coach. You don't need to be a fantastic fighter. You need to be able to read the game and understand. And he said, and you seem to get your message across.
And where did your boxing career start?
Yeah, I started in Darlington Boxing Club many moons ago. And I had a few fights as a young fella, but not too many fights. But then I started helping other boxers that were in the gym. People like Argie Ward, who now runs a gym in Darlington, runs under a similar banner. Like I copied Argie. So we both named our gyms after our boxing coach, Lol Degnan. So in Darlington, it's Ward Degnan, and in Wellington, it's Martin Degnan.
What's kept you in the sport? It's a tough sport, you know, coaching. You can put a lot of effort into lads, and then they move to our girls, and they move to different clubs. You know, it can be tough in that sense. But it's a tough, repetitive sport at times. What's kept that love of the sport for you?
It's what you're saying is dead right, Andrew. The amount of heartbreaks, heartaches, tears that I've had over the years. But it's the fact that you don't know who's going to walk through that door next. Joseph Parker could walk into any gym. And I knew Joseph when he was a young amateur. And the beauty about what I like with Joseph Parker is he's never changed. He's always been a polite young man, always shook your hand, looked you in the eye, and was very humble. And that can walk through any gym. I
think Joseph Parker's made an effect worldwide, especially in the UK. Obviously, we see him a lot being under Matchroom, and you can see he's just a role model, isn't he, for young people to look up to, how he conducts himself.
He certainly is. I first come across Joseph Parker when he was 16, and I had a 21-year-old, 94 kilo senior in the North Island Novice Golden Gloves Championship. Nobody to fight my senior. They were going to give us an unopposed title, which is not a nice way to win a title. And then Joseph stepped up into the senior ranks, and I thought, get in there, we've got a title. A 16-year-old kid stopped my lad in about a minute.
Where do you want the club to go?
I had 2 gyms at one point, and now I've downsized with this COVID thing. It sort of made me realise that I don't need to be a big gym. I just need to put more energy into one part of my gym. So I got rid of all the corporate stuff that I was doing, or most of it. I still do one very close to my heart for suicide awareness, and but I don't do any more, and I focus my attention on the amateurs and on the kids.
All the best with your boxing club, and wish you all the best in the future, and thanks for giving me some of your time.
Cheers, Andrew, and you keep doing what you're doing, mate. You're doing a fantastic job.